good? All right. Well, good evening, everyone. How I wish you were all here. We're here on stage in a very empty room when it really should be full, but I know and suspect you're all out there joining us remotely. So good evening and welcome to tonight's celebration of graduate students. We will have a convocation. I can't tell you when, of course, but we will be having a convocation. I promise you that, and then we can celebrate face-to-face in the way that we should, but until then, we're here tonight to congratulate you all and wish you well on the next part of your life's journey. I'd like to now give the land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that our campus at King's University College is situated on the traditional territories of the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, Lenapewauk, and Attawadron people, all of whom have long-standing relationships to the land of southwestern Ontario and the City of London. The First Nation communities of our local area include the Chippewas of the Thames First Nation, Oneida Nation of the Thames, and Munsee Delaware Nation. And in our region, there are 11 First Nation communities, as well as a growing Indigenous urban population. King's University College values the significant historical and contemporary contributions of local and regional First Nations and of all the original people of Turtle Island, also known as North America. In respectful acknowledgement of our Indigenous neighbors, and on behalf of the entire King's community, I offer you the warmest welcome, a King's welcome to our celebrations. All right. So while we can't assemble in person at this point in time, as I mentioned, I promise you that we will gather together when it's safe to do so and celebrate your great and noble achievement. Still, whether here in person or virtually, my own feelings of pride for the class of 22 are consistent. I'm so proud of you. Thank you for your dedication to completing your degree. Simply put, I am filled with joy for you, for your family, for your professors and the staff at King's. And tonight, I hope you feel that emotion through this virtual event. King's has been your place to be, and now I'd like to talk about the place to where you're going. The postgraduate world you're entering is nothing like what any would have dreamed a year ago. We're in the thick of a global pandemic that has tragically caused death and sickness for millions. It's also changed the way we interact with each other in a personal and a professional way. Here at King's, almost instantaneously, we have become a largely remote campus, almost the antithesis of what our culture has been for the past 6 decades, but we have managed thus far. Combined with this pandemic, we are witness to and participants in a global protest against Black racism. In Canada, we have our own long history of racism and injustice toward Indigenous people that continues, but must not. Our words, and more importantly, our actions, must result in zero tolerance for discrimination of any kind in our society, and certainly at King's. It's not enough to think and say we aren't racist because we're good people. We must take action to ensure that our society, our workplace, our campus are free from racism. We are and must continue to be brave enough to call it when we see it. We will not always be successful despite our best efforts, but we cannot lose sight of the principles of equality and the dignity of each individual. Our celebration tonight is taking place in the middle of Pride Month, a month to celebrate the LGBTQ2+ community. We are serious about being a place to be and a place to become, and that means that this is a place for every individual, regardless of their ethnicity, their faith, or whether or not they identify themselves as being part of the LGBTQ2+ community. So I ask you, what will your impact be? Will you rise to these challenges, question assumptions, and use the tools and values you've acquired here at King's? I'd like to continue my address with two contrasting quotations, one from the novelist Lewis Carroll, and the other from the philosopher, psychiatrist, and neurologist Viktor Frankl. First, Lewis Carroll. In his wonderful book, Alice in Wonderland, the main character, Alice, finds herself at a crossroad and asks the Cheshire Cat for advice. "Would you tell me, please, which way I ought to go from here?" "That depends a good deal on where you want to get to," said the cat. "It doesn't much matter where," said Alice. Then it doesn't much matter which way you go," said the cat. "So long as I get somewhere," Alice added as an explanation. "Oh, sure you'll do that," said the cat, "if only you walk long enough." So bear with me and let me have some dramatic license. Alice, as a hypothetical graduate, is looking for direction, any direction. She's ready to conform, to accept the system without critique or information, without awareness of her values, without a concern for the impact of her behavior upon her community. She is, like students in the famous Milgram experiments about the agentic state, ready to follow orders and the culture surrounding them. Sadly, we see this so acutely elsewhere in the world at the moment, but let none of us be so naive to believe this mindlessness does not exist here within the recesses of our own presumed noble hearts and our communities. And now Viktor Frankl, in contrast. A famous existential philosopher and the author of logotherapy, which means therapy through the search for meaning. If you're not familiar with Frankl's work, he was imprisoned during the Second World War in Nazi concentration camps. His quote, "Everything can be taken from us but one thing, the last of human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way." Frankl's hypothetical graduate would object to the Cheshire Cat advice and would argue that it very much does matter where one goes. What has been a path for others may not be the path you should choose. The purpose of your career and life is to take a path that is authentic to your core values. This said in another way by Polonius to Laertes in Hamlet's Act 1, Scene 3. "This above all to thine own self be true, and it must follow as the day the night, thou canst then be false to anyone." There is no reference point for the world you're about to lead. There is no handbook on how to pilot a ship or an organization in a pandemic or its aftermath. There's no ready script to memorize to bring us together, regardless of our beliefs, the color of our skin, the faith we follow or don't follow, or the people we love. There is no model or theory that will pinpoint your next decision. No poem you can read, no song you can sing to make any of this chaos go away. And despite this vacuum, I challenge each and every one of you to be a leader, because you can choose to become the person or the leader to write that handbook, that script, that theory, that poem, and that song. In a world that is chaotic, there has never been a better time to be a leader. In a world where we seek to make meaning of the insanity, there has never been a better time to lead with values and authenticity. In a world where there is so much sadness and hurt, there has never been a better time to lead with compassion. In a world where there is confusion, there has never been a better time to understand yourself, humanity, and truth. In a world where there is so much emphasis on greed and materialism, there has never been a better time to focus or refocus on your faith and spirituality. Each of you has worked so very hard. Your bachelor's or master's degree is the culmination of time spent engaging with your professors, peers, and the people at King's who have guided you, challenged their ideas and your own, listened. You've read and critiqued research articles, texts, books, monographs, manuscripts. You've worked independently and in groups. You've experienced the community, and many of you, you've experienced countries and other cultures. Regardless of your faith, you've been part of a centuries-old Catholic tradition that demands that you seek the truth, no matter how uncomfortable, and that you use this wisdom to serve the community. You lived a life at King's outside the classroom as well, an important life that included clubs, sports, residence, the parish, and the all-important social time with your King's family. Perhaps at the Seeps, where I spent much time as an undergraduate. But all in all, we've been your place, and you have made us the place to be. And now, as alumni, I hope you will always call this place home. All of these experiences, theories, bits and pieces of information will be so important to you to become successful in your careers, and you will have several careers. However, while you've accumulated all of these functional tools, they are only that, tools. Your leadership is your humanity, your own search for meaning, and the extent to which you facilitate meaning seeking for others. This is the essence of what we have grounded our King's philosophy upon: a place to be, a place to become, and a place to belong. To express this another way, as a leader, you are not the sum of the data or theories you understand, but the manner in which you put this knowledge into action for the betterment of the community in which you serve. This moment, while the culmination of so much, is also a starting point of a greater mission to serve those that you lead, servant leadership. I'd like to close with a quotation from the great philosopher Simone de Beauvoir, who said that one's life, and arguably one's leadership, has value so long as one attributes value to the life of others by means of love, friendship, indignation, compassion. So go and write your own script. The world needs you right now. And on behalf of faculty and staff, we can't wait to see your leadership in action. So I wish congratulations to all of you of the 2020 class. All right, thank you. Now I would like to call upon Father Michael for the invocation.
Thank you, Dr. Malloy. Congratulations to the class of 2020. In Matthew's Gospel, Jesus says this: "You are the salt of the earth, but if the salt loses its savor, how could it be made salty again? It is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled underfoot. You are the light of the world. A city on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a basket. Instead, they set it on a stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father who is in heaven." Though this evening is really about you, I'd like to, at least for a couple of moments, make it about me and to express some of the disappointments that I've experienced because of COVID-19. One of the things that we do as Catholic clergy is that we're instructed that we're to spend 8 days in prayer every year. And my kind of go-to places are a small abbey in Ireland called Glenstal, and then another little place in upper state New York called New Skeet. Now, 2 years ago, I spent just over 2 weeks at New Skeet Monastery. And it's a little community located between Albany and Cambridge, New York, just west of the Vermont border. And its origins are really pretty recent in American history. About 55, 60 years ago now, a group of Franciscan brothers and sisters, desiring to live a more contemplative life, left the city streets and built a small monastery and chapel in an area that still requires not only a GPS, but several maps and lots of good luck. Once you do manage to find this little community, it's a very impressive but small compound. There are 3 sets of residences. There's one for the men, there's one for the women, and there's one for visitors like myself who come to visit from time to time. There are 2 chapels, there are a couple of work sheds, and there's a cemetery. The folks that joined together 55, 60 years ago were so committed to their new project that they all went back to high school, enrolling in shop classes in the evening to learn basic carpentry and electrical work so that they could take care of themselves and build this new fledgling community. To this day, to support themselves, the men breed and train German shepherds, mostly as house pets. And the women who are there bake cheesecakes and they paint icons. And each of these tasks necessitates a building or 2. They spend about 3 hours a day in common prayer in one of the monastic chapels, and another hour or 2 in silent prayer and reflection. Now, when they got there a few decades back, there were about 30 monks and nuns living together. Their numbers in the last year have dropped down to 12, and the average age in residence is just over 70. It's pretty likely that their community will die out in the next 20 years. But in the meantime, unseen and unheard and relatively forgotten and certainly misunderstood, they go about doing the right thing, offering themselves in service to God, their brothers and sisters, and the world as a whole. Now, I'm under no great illusion that the pandemic in which we currently find ourselves is going to facilitate our monasteries and our convents being full once again. But sometimes I think it's important for us to look beyond ourselves to communities such as this one in upper state New York to consider what we might learn for them today, especially in a situation like this, as we celebrate not only this momentous movement out of our community, but when, like Dr. Malloy said, we need to ask ourselves, how will we choose to be servant leaders? How will we choose to bring that loving presence to others throughout the world? Might I suggest that we are not to look for success in places where we will receive the accolades of millions, but rather, might we choose to look for success in places where we can say that we have brought the reign of God just a little bit closer. I would encourage you to be like the monks on this little hill, whose lives are pretty much hidden and whose candles in their church are pretty much unseen. I would encourage you to be like the monks who seek to know the will of God and who day after day, despite tremendous obstacles, ask for the courage to live out God's will in very concrete and simple ways. I would encourage you to be like the monks on this little hill, now these old men and women who work hard, tirelessly, not to amass personal wealth, but for the ability to tend to the needs of the poor and the needy. And I encourage you to be like the monks on this hill who seek to embody love in every action that you begin and every action that you see through to completion. Cardinal Seward, who was the Archbishop of Paris in the 1940s, wrote this: "To be a witness does not consist in engaging in propaganda, nor even in stirring people up, but in being a living mystery. It means to live in such a way that one's life would make no sense if God did not exist. There should be something about Christians, and I would argue about all believers, that puzzles people and makes them wonder what is at the heart of our lives. While these words were addressed to a post-war community in France, these words can easily be adapted to those of us who are graduates of King's University College. Live for God and live for the betterment of others. On behalf of all of my colleagues in the Office of Campus Ministry, I'd like to offer my personal congratulations to all the graduates of 2020 as you celebrate with your family and friends your many and remarkable achievements. Thank you.
Thank you, Father Michael. Next, I'd like to ask Father Mark Sargent to come and give his remarks.
Thank you very much, Principal Malloy. I'm here this evening with my distinguished guests and colleagues at the head of the class and with the graduates, their families and friends, those that have cared and supported them these many years here at King's. A couple days ago, I had an email from one of the graduates, who I hope is watching tonight, talking about how disappointed they were that this couldn't happen live, and how they almost felt cheated by what has happened. And I wrote back and I said, yours is the most unusual of all graduations and commencements. You do this in the middle of a pandemic, and the work that we do here right now is a tremendous sign of hope and of courage, and focuses on the great values that the college has given to each of us. Lots of people can say that they walked across the stage. Not everyone can say that they had it on the internet and it may have been delayed, but they made history in what they did. One of the great early Canadian poets, it seems to be the evening for quotes, so I'll add to it as well. A man called Archibald Lampman, one of the great Laurentian poets, who talked about the great turmoil in the sea of life and how these great storms that we face in our lives, if we allow ourselves a moment of calm, we can glimpse eternity. And I think that with everything that we have been given here in this place, this college, a place to be and a place to become, now we're focusing on not what I got from it, but the person that I am. For none of us can engage in social change, and none of us can really become the people we are meant to become or do those things that we would like to do unless we are first and foremost grounded in ourselves, self-reflective. It is easy to join a crowd. It is difficult to walk the other way from the crowd. It is easy to follow lots of other people and do what is popular. It is difficult to stop and listen in the silence of your heart as to where you should really be and who you should be. And I would like to think that of all the lessons, object and practical, that you would have been given here at King's, it is that becoming that person, that person we are all called to be, either by the light of our faith or the light of reason or the light of all these things that we have around us, that we are grounded in ourselves. And I think one of the great challenges of the pandemic is that we are forced to isolate. And I think initially that made a lot of us very uncomfortable because we couldn't do the practical things we want to do. And it was funny, the language was, I can't get a haircut. I can't go see my parents. I can't go to a restaurant. I can't have a convocation. But as we have progressed through this, some are changing that vocabulary. And some are actually talking about, hearing things in their hearts that they may have never stopped long enough to hear and to imagine. Because I think what Kings gives us is not a very detailed roadmap. Here's, do this and you will get to this place. I think one of the great gifts that college gives us is a compass. And the great thing about a compass, it gives us a direction, but never tells us what's in the way. So that when you hold your compass, it points to north, but it doesn't say that 500 meters down the road is a ravine and it's full of brambles, or there is no bridge over a river. It doesn't tell you that. It leaves it for you to figure out how to get there and where to go. It gives direction. And through faith and reason and all the great things we have learned here, we know how to follow those directions. So I wish, on behalf of our entire board, to give you my profound congratulations from all of us, that this class of 2020, who, in the midst of a pandemic, by now should at least all have a haircut, because our Prime Minister now has his haircut, so we can all get a haircut now. We can buy toilet paper now. We can do all those things. Have a life that is filled with joy and hope. Have a life that is reflective and in service to others. Because in that, we live what Kings has taught us. Congratulations, and may God bless you all.
Thank you, Father Mark. I'm now pleased to recognize this year's recipients of the King's Gold Medals. The gold medals are awarded to graduating students who achieve the highest average in their academic program. This year, the following students earned this remarkable achievement. The Bachelor of Management and Organizational Studies Honors Program, Hanki Wang. The Bachelor of Management and Organizational Studies Program, Ashley Ratnaik. In the Bachelor of Social Work Honors Program, Tina Nguyen. The Bachelor of Arts Honors Social Science, Ashita Kumar. The Bachelor of Arts Honors in Humanities, Catherine Cormier. The Bachelor of Honors Arts Interdisciplinary Program, Alexandria Armstrong. In the 4-year Bachelor of Arts Social Science, Luke Garrett. In the 4-year Bachelor of Arts Humanities, John Fazio. In the 4-year Bachelor of Arts Interdisciplinary Programs, Sarah McDonald. In the 3-year Bachelor of Arts Social Science, Nicholas Armstrong. The 3-year Bachelor of Arts Humanities, James Martin. And the 3-year Bachelor of Arts Interdisciplinary Studies, Jordan Shanlon. Congratulations to these graduates on their awards. We have posted more information about them on our website so that you can get to know a little bit more about their backgrounds and their plans for the future. All right, and now next. Each year, King's students select a class valedictorian who offers an address at the annual King's Grad Ball. Unfortunately, after a considerable amount of planning and anticipation, the ball was canceled due, of course, to the pandemic. As a result, we're happy to include the valedictorian speech this evening. The role of the valedictorian is awarded to one graduating student who has made a significant contribution to the King's community during their undergraduate career. This graduating student must possess a positive demeanor and an outstanding presence among their peers. They must also have demonstrated academic success in their field of study while making an impact at King's and the wider community. I'm pleased to introduce Nirali Vithlani. Nirali is graduating from an honors double major in management and organizational studies and economics with a 3rd major in human resources. Nirali is an international student who came to King's all the way from Tanzania. While at King's, she was a tutor, president of the EBM Club, a bridging assistant to international students, and a peer guide and a resident assistant. Since completing her studies, Nirali has already started working at her new job at Agility Intelligence in Toronto. She hopes one day to return to the Western community for postgraduate studies. So without further ado, I welcome Nirali to offer her address. Nirali.
Thank you for the introduction. There comes a time in everyone's life where we're forced to make choices that compromise satisfaction to the greater good. A crossroads where life takes us in unprecedented directions that, despite being the more difficult path, yields a destination magical. Dear class of 2020, you and I all have been confronted with these crossroads, a decision we have been forced to make all too early in our lives, to sacrifice one of the greatest moments of our lives for the better. But despite this very difficult time that binds us all together, it is our community of Being King's graduates that connects our hearts by a string. I start by thanking you all for being a part of my King's experience, as well as of your peers in whose lives you have created an impact. All of us deserve to be standing here on this podium just as much as I am. I apologize profusely that has not been possible this year. I want to begin with thanking the most important people in my life, my family, my parents, my grandmother, my siblings, and my aunt. These 6 figures have loved me and supported me so immensely. I want to share a short story that provides a glimpse into the sacrifices that my family has made so that I got a proper education. I left Tanzania, my home, at the age of 11 and left my family behind to get a proper education in India. My dad wanted to provide me with the best of the best and give me access to resources that he didn't have while growing up. I lived with my family till the age of 11 and only saw my family during vacations when I flew back to Tanzania from living in my boarding school back in India. I discovered that in actuality, my father wanted to send my brother to a different country and not me, which made me feel that I was less loved, but that still seems a mystery between all its siblings. However, over the years, as I grew into an adult of the world, I realized the significance of every sacrifice that my parents made and how they only did it for my well-being. Growing up, I never had my parents to hold my hand and walk me through almost all the challenges I faced except from afar. As much as I wish my childhood was less full of struggles, which forced me to grow up alone, I appreciate all that my parents, like every parent, have done for me. I love you for everything. I therefore take this opportunity to thank the families of each and every one of my peers for doing everything that they have done over the years for us. Some of my peers I'm graduating with are parents themselves who take care of their little ones with eyes full of dreams for them. I appreciate each and every one of you and salute your patience in times of testing. My journey at King's began 4 years ago, when I first landed in Canada into completely unfamiliar lands from a background where I lived alone and away from my family for most of my life as a wide-eyed first year. I was immediately welcomed with open arms by the folks at King's International and Resident Office, people who shaped my family since the very beginning. Over the years, I have been privileged to work with people who love this place as much as any of us do. The International Office, the Bridging Assistants, the Peer Guides, the Residence Office, and who can forget the Food Services team staff being there for us with their big breakfast after we tried saving money with dollar beers. And the Academic Dean's Office, thank you for guiding me and providing me with opportunities that have shaped me to be a more skillful and grateful person for life. Over these 4 odd years, I have learned lessons and accumulated experiences of a lifetime that I'm sure we can all relate to. King's to me has been a structure of support from the very beginning till the very end, through whom I have been able to be successful, not just in the eyes of my parents and family, but also my professors and the entire faculty at King's. Despite being a small part of the thriving School of MEM, I feel significant in my efforts and contributions and the immense and the immense and unending care that I have received is only second to none. As an international student and a woman of color, I feel honored and cherish each and every one of my fellow international students around me who have taken the biggest leap of faith to leave their home countries, some of whom have not even back once so far. Kings deserve special gratitude in making us feel like we're home away from home, that we have everything we could ever ask for. Now, I would like to take the opportunity to thank my faculty and staff, those who never gave up on us, even when we gave up on ourselves. That does include considering that our dogs ate everything, including our homework and shorts. All the props I have had forced us all to tap into our highest potentials, an ability we never even thought we had. Kings allowed me to build one-on-one relationships with so many professors who I hope to keep in touch with. One of my favorite anecdotes about a professor takes me back to the days of homecoming, when I had to attend an 8:30 a.m. lecture. We had an exam the next day after homecoming, and most of us fourth years were conveniently planning to miss our last homecoming, most of us without the hopes of graduating, to sleep in, when our professor told us that we won't get our university lives back, to go live it up, party all you can, because exams keep coming, these years do not. I do wish I took this advice more seriously, Professor McFarlane. Our faculty's kindness runs parallel only to their familiarity, which has allowed me to secure a full-time job, which also speaks to how extended our King's family is. When I graduated high school, I found a quote that resonated with me immediately. I believe I can, and so I will. At multiple times in my life, I have found myself at the conclusion that giving up is an easier option. I find it easy to get swamped with competition at university and put our... At multiple times, I found myself at the conclusion that giving up is an easier option. In high school, I always tried to excuse my grades and performance by comparing myself to other performers. However, my father taught me that we are our own competitors. He asked me to not compare myself against others and to judge me against my greatest potential. I find it easy to get swamped with competition at university and put ourselves under stress and pressure. This is something that pushed me and encouraged me to do better, and I can safely say that that is something all of us have been through. In retrospect, there have been exams I came out of crying or broke down in the midst of, deadlines I have barely met, and presentations I have been scared of delivering in front of audiences who I ended up being friends with. They guided me at every step of my growth process, and I'm forever indebted to them. Those failures are the sweetest part of our memories, making us feel proud when we look back on a 90 on an exam and essays that we have wrote in the midst of a breakdown. I'm sure Professor Janet would agree with the surprisingly good essays I wrote and presentations I gave confidently. Although I still double count my change at the grocery store and barely manage my lightweighted savings account, I think I'll get there one day. What underlies all of these moments in my motto is that I believe I can, and so I will, because we are all our own competitions. Dear class of 2020, thank you for being my batch and my peers, with whom I share a legacy, starting from the very beginning, when I was in residence, till the very end, when I unknowingly shared my last class with you. I am lucky and grateful to share this stage along with all of you, kind and talented people that I've had the utmost honor of knowing. I have been incredibly fortunate to learn valuable lessons in gratitude since the very beginning, and one of resilience, which I continue to cherish as I start my full-time job. King's has taught me the value of having faith in myself when all was lost, to pull myself up and dust my knees when I fall down, and pat myself on the back whenever I achieve something, whether small or big. I have faced successes and failures like all of you, and struggles immensely in achieving what I always wanted. The only difference is that all of us had the opportunity of experiencing our first ever real-world successes and failures at this very special place, a place that has held our hands through every challenge and led us through every achievement. Starting from my housekeeper in first-year residence to my head of department, I'm indebted to each and every one of you for making King's the place it is, a place to become. Class of 2020, we're all in this together. We started our journeys here at the same time and experience waves, both high and low, in our own regards. We experience losses and gains alike and have come out stronger together. I assure you, we have the faith in ourselves and the resilience to make our lives the potential we were made to realize that we all have. I believe in us, that we can create change as leaders of tomorrow who have faced what nobody has ever faced before. I have trust that all of us will find what we're looking for in this world. I am proud that we have walked this road together and know which path to choose in these different crossroads. That like many before us and many to come after us, we will emerge successfully in all our own little ways, because if we believe we can, and so we will. Having said that, over the course of May, our batch received an email regarding a legacy gift. The committee has decided to establish a Students' Award for future students in a way for the batch of 2020 to give back to society. Details are to be confirmed over the summer. Before I close my speech, I would like to give a special thank you to my family watching right now and my friends who have all been such an important part of my journey at King's. I would not have done it without any of you. Today I urge the batch of 2020 to remember the legacy that we all carry in our hearts and give back to this society and to this world in your own little ways. Let's spread love and hope, and that those around us find the confidence to believe in us and turn to us in the times of need. So once again, congratulations to every one of you, my fellow batchmates, for completing this milestone with so much courage, and to the families celebrating, and for the faculty and staff for all your constant support. Stay safe, and I wish you all the best in the unpredictable mystery of life. Cheers to more success coming in all your ways. Thank you.
Nirali, thank you so much. What a tremendous role model you are. So thank you for choosing King's 4 years ago. That was just outstanding. Thank you. Next, I'd like to invite Jennifer Ayers to speak to us. Jennifer is a graduate of King's in 2008, and she's the president of the Alumni Association. Jennifer.
Thank you very much for the introduction, and congratulations to you. My fellow King's graduates, your relationship with King's started years ago, probably before you ever stepped foot on campus. Remember those university applications? In some ways, it may seem like a lifetime ago, and in others, it may seem like only yesterday. What's important to recognize now, as you graduate, is that your time with King's isn't ending. King's is part of you, just as much as you are part of King's, and that's something that will never change. As you graduate today, and as life takes you in new directions, remember that the King's University College Alumni Association can help you stay connected to your King's friends and the entire King's community that's been part of your life over the past few years. Today, it is my great honor, on behalf of the King's University College Alumni Association, to congratulate each of you on your many achievements that led you to this moment, and to welcome you to your new relationship with King's as alumni. King's alumni are an active group, united by memories of our time, knowledge, and friendships we gained as students at King's. Your Alumni Association is dedicated to fostering new and preserving the existing important bonds through the many events, programs, services, and networking opportunities offered by the association. Getting involved is actually quite easy. Connect with us on King's website, Instagram, and Facebook pages to learn about upcoming events like pub nights, speaker series, theater trips, prestigious golf events, and many others that support the King's community. Now, before I pass the mic back, I'd like to let you know about 3 simple things that you can do as a new alumni member to stay connected to King's. Number 1, read the emails that we send to you. They're full of a lot of important information about upcoming events. Number 2, wear your King's wear. It's a simple way to meet other alumni wherever you are. Number 3, attend an in-person or virtual alumni event. They're a fun way to connect with other alumni. Being involved is truly the best way to stay connected to King's. You are now members of a proud and persevering group of graduates, and I, along with all King's alumni, look forward to meeting you. Welcome, new alumni, to your King's University College Alumni Association. I almost made it through.
Thank you, Jennifer. Before we close for the night, I would like to thank from the bottom of my heart our presenters. Father Michael, Father Mark, Nirali, what a fabulous job you did. And Jennifer, thank you. I'd like to thank Katrina Clark for all of the work she did organizing this event. Thank you, Katrina. This was, let's hope you never have to do this sort of thing again, but you were great. Thank you. Jana Gordon, the Executive Director of the Alumni and Development. Corey Cook, our Media Specialist. Thank you, Corey, for making this all happen. Tim Bugler, our website designer. Chantel, as always, thank you so much for all the work you do. Nikki, John, and Jane from our communications team. So this brings our celebration to a close. Thank you so much for joining our celebration this evening, honoring these achievements of you, our wonderful graduates. It's a great day of beginnings, but it's also a day to celebrate the wonderful people that you've become during your time here at King's. I look forward to celebrating your convocation at a later date. I'm not sure when that's going to happen, but we are going to do it. And meet your families and congratulate your families and significant others for this great achievement as well. So now that is a close to our program. Graduates, please join your academic departments in their happy hour Zoom meetings. And I assume that you all have that information. Yes, I'm getting a yes. So congratulations again, everyone. Thank you so much for tonight. And do take care. Have a good summer. Be safe. And stay in touch. Thank you.